Welcome to Eureka Moments. I am Eureka Francisco. We have William Armstead, who has been a guest on this podcast before. I am glad to have you back. How are you?
I am well. I'm happy to be back.
Good.
And congratulations again on the podcast.
Yes, I'm nervous, but I'm super excited at the same time. For those that didn't see the first podcast, can you reintroduce yourself, please?
Sure. Again, my name is William Armstead. I hold a master's degree in sociology and also hold a master's degree as a licensed professional counselor associate. And what that means, I'm working toward my hours to fulfilling full licensure.
Yeah. And that is important because although we're not offering counseling sessions or therapy, between our experiences and our education, we do offer valid opinions about certain topics that we will be discussing. So let me refresh your memory. The last time we met, we were talking about people and purpose. And if you guys hadn't seen that video, find that video and watch it. It is a game changer. We're going to lead with what we talked about the first podcast.
Okay.
So to recap, we were talking about how certain situations in life, in dealing with people, whether it's intimate relationships or organizational relationships, parent-child relationships, may have had some traumatic experiences, but those relationships and experiences can propel you forward if you have the tools and take the next necessary steps to fulfill your purpose.
Absolutely.
And one thing that we were trying to, highlight in the last podcast was the steps in order to come from experiences that had negative effects and not strive, but to thrive in the future. So let's start there. So we're going to talk about how do we take the steps to propel forward and to thrive and not strive.
Right. The first podcast, we talked a lot about being self-aware. Mm-hmm. And again, self-awareness is not just limited with knowing what's going on within you, but also knowing what's going on with others that are in your orbit or in these other systems that you just talked about, in the workspace, family, and etc. Mm-hmm. Being aware of or self-aware of your surrounding environmental self-awareness. Yes. And then also self-identification, knowing who you are adjacent from or opposite from the whole group, what's going on. Because again, oftentimes we make decisions based upon groups.
Yes.
Rather than what we independently think, because we think the group is more informed. Mm-hmm. And we talked about how everyone has a degree of experiences.
That's right.
And you pointed out we gain these skills in every experience that we have. And so what we would like to do and highlight is how do we bring these skills over and make them transferable into strategies? Because at some point in time or another, you were successful in making a decision in a bad situation.
Yes.
And it's good to have reflection to look back and say, what did I do? What did I do right? How could I do it better? And we're not going to use the word weakness. We'll use words areas of growth.
Yes, areas of growth.
And so, again, there are areas of growth and strategies that we can do. Looking back, we can pull out those lessons learned. You brought such intimacy last time. It was a lot to unpack.
Yeah.
But it was wonderful that you brought it to the floor, because there were some things that you did right, some steps that you took. And what we would hope that the podcast would help to create is a safe environment where people can come and say, hey, you know what? I do have strengths.
Yes.
I heard, the presenter, the moderator's story, and I can gain strength from that. I may not do it exactly how she did it,
right,
but I can find some similar things where I can be successful. So self-awareness.
Yes. And to what you're saying, the goal is not to mimic.
Yeah.
The goal is to learn and to be able to take the information that you're learning and to make it work for you.
Absolutely.
Right? So in the last podcast, I was trying to explain some strategies that I used to put myself in a different situation.
Mm-hmm.
And so I remember talking about having community, having people that I can talk to,
sure,
whether it be colleagues, friends, family, or professional people. I talked about attending therapy, which can be important. Some people don't believe in therapists, but because I do have, a good amount of self-awareness, I'm able to talk to my therapist and then hear myself and come up with strategies on my own to reach my goal, right?
What gives you the courage to be that open or vulnerable with your therapist? Because courage seems to be lacking, especially in this time and space.
Yeah. So let me be honest. Even when I don't feel confident, I'm confident. I don't know if that makes sense. I know enough to know that we are all struggling in some area.
Sure.
Even though I have a sense of that I'm thriving, right? There are still areas of growth, as you mentioned, that I know that I still need to work on. And I am aware enough that I know that everybody, to whatever degree it is, has areas that they're working on. So my therapist has a therapist.
Sure. Yes.
You understand what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So I don't feel ashamed to tell my truth. And more importantly, I'm committed to the process of healing, thriving, and reaching my goal. That commitment is more important than how you feel about me.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, so perception is not a barrier to you receiving the care and the healing that...
And if I'm not transparent with telling my story, then how am I serving other people? We need to get out of this thought process that if I don't say anything, then the perception is I'm good. No, because that's not what I'm going to think. Because I know enough to know that life is difficult for everyone. Right? So if you're walking around trying to uphold an image that you go through nothing, I'm going to think that's sad of you. Like, I may not already judge you, but I'm thinking everybody's going through something. However, I will say this. I am allowing people that don't know me, that have not earned the privilege of me being vulnerable, see me be vulnerable. I'm not saying that that's what you guys should do in your case, because people really should earn it. But my purpose is to reach and teach. So I have to show up authentically, and I have to be able to tell my truth, and I have to be able to feel okay with and not ashamed with being honest. That I hadn't always had it together, and there are areas I'm still working on. But
so being self-aware has allowed you to identify who you share information with.
Yeah.
Because whether or not they're able to hold the truth,
Right.
hold secrets, if you would,
Yeah.
able to
Not be
handle,
judgmental.
not be judgmental.
Not be judgmental.
Absolutely.
That's a key.
Absolutely.
So the other thing is you have to want it bad enough. So my mom, this is my mom would tell me. I would call my mom and say, and my stepmom, for all the ones that saw the video, I'm gonna refer to my stepmom as my mom because that's my mom.
Sure.
So don't get it confused with, I thought she said her mom died. So, but my stepmom is my mom. When my mom would see me go through situations, especially relationship type situations, she would listen. She wouldn't offer any advice.
Okay.
And she would say to me, she says, Eureka, you have this. You got this. When you get tired enough, you'll make a decision to do something different. Okay. So, I actually spoke that one day. I was on vacation, a couple's vacation with a group of friends. And I guess we were talking about our New Year's resolution, and I'm not going to talk about exercise and losing weight or this, because you know what? I'm a fail at that. So what I talked about was...
And if I could ask, why would you say you would fail at it? Because you lacked what?
Because I lack the discipline to follow through. Because you know what? Because it's not that important to me. And you know what? Okay, I'm just gonna be honest, because I think I'm cute enough the way I am. Like
you're
so.
Owning it. Yeah.
That doesn't. My size doesn't affect me. Where I feel like, oh my gosh, when I wear this, I look horrible. I think I'm an attractive person, right? And I think that, and I'm curvy in the right areas. It's just, what I think. And I know how to wear clothes that complements my body. So I don't feel like, could I be slimmer? Yes, but I'm okay with who I am in that regard. Now, I do want to focus on, and I have been focusing on some areas in my life to make me healthier. So I have this exercise routine. I have a bike. I ride an actual bike outside now, and I try to make healthier food choices. So I'm okay with progressing through that slowly. So I'm not going to make that a New Year's resolution. Right. I think more importantly, here. Sure. Because here drives everything. Right. If I get my mental state right, because here's the thing. When you're stressed, you're gonna want to eat. So if this is not right, you're still gonna want to eat. Does that make sense? Or choose unhealthy food choices
based upon those emotions.
On those emotions. So I'm gonna just focus on this. Everything else will follow. So for my New Year's resolution, back to that, I said I'm not going to worry about what is to come in relationships. I'm going to focus on how I'm going to handle what is to come.
So you're speaking about self-manage and perspective and being self-aware.
If you do something to me, Armstead. Okay, let me back up. I'm not going to focus on whether you're going to do something to me or not, whether you're going to hurt me or not. I just know that if you do, then I will make a decision to do something. Whether that be cut you off, whether that be redirect you, whether that be set up a boundary or whatever. It takes too much energy, guys, to focus on, well, if I get in this relationship, what if they hurt me? If I take this job, what if this? No. Just know that you know what to do when circumstances arise and you can make the right choice. That's what I'm focused on.
So having the emotional intelligence.
Yes.
Knowing what's going on the inside of you, what's going on the outside of you, what's going on with someone else, and then be able to problem solve. Make decisions that may not bring the severe consequences that prior times had offered.
Right. Yeah. So I think that's most important. And I believe that when you walk in your purpose, and when you walk in your confidence, and when you walk in your truth, then the universe comes together and it meets you where you are, right? So some of the things that you guys probably be struggling with, whether it's relationships, career, finances, this, that, and the other. And I've worked on every part, because we talked about finances too. I work on finances. I work, which is a relationship with money. I think I have a healthy relationship with money. Very little debt. I have debt because debt helps my credit score. I got to keep a certain amount of debt, very low though, very minimal, to keep that, to be in the 800. I'm in an 800 club.
Congratulations.
The 800
club. Welcome. What would you say? What would you say to those that are not in the 800 club, that may not have the access or resources?
Yeah.
What advice could you give them that would help them kind of navigate? You know, it does not have to be specifically finances, but any relationship. Because what we're talking about are managing these relationships, but more importantly, managing you as you navigate this journey.
Yeah. So, but finance is important. So let me hit on that.
Sure. Very important.
Baby steps, right? Baby steps. So there was a point in time when my credit score was like 500 something.
How did you feel?
You know what? I didn't even feel like anything because I didn't know any better.
Okay.
I didn't realize that it mattered until I wanted to buy a home.
So that self-awareness. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I couldn't buy the home because my credit score was not with the company I was going with. Because then some people say, well, you could get a house with a 580 credit score. I'm just saying the company that I was trying to utilize would not offer me a loan because my credit score was too low. And now that I think back, I was paying like triple the amount of money for a car, right? Because the interest rate was so high.
Absolutely.
And then I wasn't getting good deals with credit cards. I was paying interest on credit cards. I didn't realize until now that you don't even have to pay interest. Like I have 0 interest credit cards. Like I don't pay interest. Like I don't even believe in paying interest. But that's because this is where I am now. So let me tell you, I actually, and listen, some people follow his method, some people don't. But I actually follow Dave Ramsey. So God gave me a vision to work on every area of my life, right?
Okay. And
so finances was one of them. I had owned property, but I acquired property through relationships.
Okay.
So I be married and then it's like I get a divorce and then it's like I get property, right? And when we settled up. And so I sold a house. And instead of buying things that didn't matter or depreciating assets, I paid off debt. I opened up a Roth IRA.
So you set priorities.
I set priorities.
Your prior experience, not having that information, not having that access, did not afford you that. But as a result of those lessons learned, you were able to continue to talk about the investments that you have done as a result of.
Right. So I went from 580 to 800. I'm at 810. Wow. I think the highest you get is like 850 or something, but I'm at 810, and it fluctuates. But I've invested in so I'm S&P 500, Roth IRA, 403B. I've bought land as an investment property, so that's.
So how long was the journey between the 580? You said 580 to the 850, because that's a whole gap. 810. See, I'm speaking that.
Yeah, you're speaking
that
it.
That's going to manifest.
That's going to manifest.
With the strategies.
You know what? It was a long time, because so you're talking about a decade. A decade. So guys, listen. where I am now, it has taken time. It has taken years. It has taken me being intentional. It has taken having conversations.
What do you mean by being intentional?
It is intentional. Having a need,
Mm-hmm.
setting a goal to meet that need.
Ah, okay. Need and setting goals.
And writing down specific steps.
Mm-hmm. So you have some action steps there.
Action steps to help me reach that goal.
Okay.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
I listen to anything or anybody from Dave Ramsey for financial advice.
Mm-hmm.
People that I know that have already invested. I have a friend that's a certified public accountant.
Okay.
For hitting that's financial.
Mm-hmm.
And so once I understood what this whole finance game was, then I was able to Google and read more about it.
Okay. So commitment, discipline.
Warren Buffett is somebody that I follow, so I end up opening up a Vanguard because he was talking about Vanguard. So then I researched Vanguard.
Mm-hmm. So
go ahead.
Do you know? I'm not aware of Vanguard.
Mm-hmm.
My economy has not allowed me to invest as well as you're investing, and I'm happy to hear that because my inner circle is becoming or beginning to look. Mm-hmm. I mean, you and I have been friends the better of 8 years, absolutely. And so my inner circle is looking different as I evolve and grow. Mm-hmm. And so because you have these financial people, mm-hmm. they in some way and in some places, mm-hmm. they're becoming supports for me. Right. Because and I'm privileged mm-hmm. Because what they share with you, mm-hmm. you have sharing it with me.
Yeah.
Hence we become a community.
Yes.
And a community heals and fixes things.
Yes.
And that's one of the goals of the podcast.
Yes.
That the information that is shared and imparted mm-hmm. can help move you toward healing.
Yeah. So because this is not about, oh, look what I've done. This is about, I've done this.
Get in there. Yeah.
I've done this. I've been here. I've taken these steps. I'm doing this, and I'm sharing with you guys so that you can also do it too. Because you know what? We are horrible with sharing information when it's going to help each other. Yeah. And there are some people that look like us that has helped me, but there are a lot of people that don't look like us that have helped me. You understand what I'm saying? And
help is colorless.
I listen to it all, and then I desegregate what information is vital to my needs, mm-hmm. and that's what I use. But Inyala, for mental relationships, I used to look at Inyala Fix My Life, Inyala Vanzant.
Okay.
And her podcast and YouTube videos, and I would follow her on television. Okay. Oprah, Super Soul Sunday.
Okay.
Right?
So you have these voices of powers and movers and shakers and people aligning yourself with people that are doing things and have done things and the productivity of things.
Guys,
manifesting.
What I do know is you don't know what you don't know. You just don't know what you don't know.
Right.
But when you have something inside of you that says that I want something different, I just listened to different podcasts and different people and absorbed information. And then I just feel as though then the spirit, the universe, God aligned itself with me and then said, okay, you have this information. Now let's come up with some steps to try to go down your path, because everybody's path is different. So here's another thing. People tell you got to do it this way, and but no, because everybody's journey is different. Mm-hmm. So even what I'm saying may or may not work for you. I want people to listen to the podcast, and this is just one way of doing things.
Find some common things.
Yes. But this way has worked for me.
Sure.
Yeah.
Because it has to be individualized.
Yes.
and tailored just for
Yes.
you. You don't go into the store and it's a one size fit and you get it off the
Right.
hanger, or if you shop couture or whatever,
Yeah.
a little bit different there.
Yeah.
But you go in and there are a multitude of selections to make from.
Yeah.
And you make a conscious decision and effort to say, hey, you know what? Hopefully some of us are looking at the price tags and making that informed decision. And then finding something that flatters you.
Right.
But oftentimes we're looking for people's validation.
Yeah.
How would people see me in it? So again, when we talk about these relationships,
Yeah.
a common theme of these relationships is trust. There has to be a degree of trust in all of these relationships.
Yeah.
And your commitment has to be there.
Yes.
Like you said, your journey may be unique. The strategies may be unique, but there's
Right.
a common thing of commitment,
The commitment,
being self-aware,
self-awareness,
understanding what's going on, finding supports and
Supports.
systems. Maybe
Yes.
it's not financial advisors. Maybe it's to speak to the person that collect the money at church.
yeah, yeah,
Maybe it's somewhere on the job. And I'm not saying you go and you share these personal things with everybody, but again, it goes back to self-awareness. And what is it that you wanted? I wanted to go back to what you just said earlier about what you wanted. How did that voice look to you when you knew you wanted something? And maybe you didn't know exactly what that something is. It's manifesting now. We see it now.
Right.
But how did that voice look, feel, sound?
Yeah. So, let me say this. I thought, being in church all my life, right? I thought that when they say God gives you the desires of your heart, I thought that literally meant that when I desired something, God was going to give it to me. One day, that voice, a voice, and it's the Holy Spirit. I know when the Holy Spirit is talking to me.
So it's in your heart
It's
or
in
head?
my heart.
or-
It's in my head. It comes to me. So I'm just doing nothing, and it'll just come to me, and then I have an aha moment or eureka
A
moment,
realization.
a realization.
Okay, good.
And it came to me that because I was crying and I was like, God, I'm not getting what I want, and I try to be a good person, and this, that, and the other, and it was this thought that said, it's not about what you want. Yeah, I don't give you the desires of your heart. I give you the desires of your heart. And I said, what's the difference?
Right.
The difference is I don't get what I want, but God placed the desire in me, the passion in me.
Passion,
He
okay.
gives me the desires of my heart. The reason why I'm here, my purpose, God gives me my purpose. He gives me the desires of my heart. Because if I'm just wanting stuff and he's giving me what I want, my desire, then that's selfish. Because I want a big house, I wanted this, I wanted that, I wanted that, I want that. But what he told me years ago is I'm giving you the desires I give you the desires of your heart, which to me it meant I'm giving you your purpose.
Okay.
If you execute your purpose and you serve my people, then you can get other stuff, right, as a consequence to servitude.
Okay. So when
Does that
you
make
use the
sense?
word, it makes sense to me.
Okay.
And maybe because the 8 years is unfair and we have talked so much over the 8 years.
Yeah.
And so to make sure everyone is on the bus,
Yeah.
when you use the concept service or servitude, how did that look for you? When you were serving, it looked like what? What were you doing as you journeyed along the pathway?
Yeah.
What specific things?
So I have a natural ability to attract people.
Okay.
Right? I think you know that.
Yeah,
And-
which is unfair because I know that.
I have a natural ability to attract people, and that attraction then cultivates a space where people feel comfortable sharing a lot of stuff with me. People that don't even know me, and I'm not talking about just people that work with me. I'm talking people just coming to me and then they tell me their life story.
So use me the
Okay.
first time we met. So
Okay.
we can give texture and content because we have to have a beginning.
Okay. So I'm going to tell you a story about
that I'm
about
drawn
us.
to.
Okay. So Yeah, you didn't know me, I didn't know you. You came into my office with your polished self, right? And so we did a meet and greet. We didn't talk that much that time, but it was almost like we knew that we had the same kindred spirit.
Ah, okay.
You came back, you came back another time, and we began to have a conversation about our past or our history.
Okay.
So basically, it was almost like this non-verbal thing that was happening to say, yeah, because what you said to me is that you thought I was attractive. Mm-hmm. Sometimes people can't see past that and they think you're superficial. They don't think you have anything to offer because of the way you carry yourself, you as a leader, and then you are an attractive person. Well, the same thing for you, dressed Gucci down and you spoke proper, and it's like, but underneath the surface.
Yes, I like that.
We shared the same spirit in that the external thing, you may be attracted to that,
right?
But that is not what I'm offering.
Right.
What I'm offering is
That's
my
good.
heart,
That's
my
good.
soul, information, and my experience.
Mm-hmm.
It just so happens to be packaged well.
Mm-hmm. Sure, yeah.
In that, you begin to tell me about your journey as a man. Mm-hmm. And I'm not going to share information because that's your story.
Right.
But I will say enough to say this, and you decided what you're willing to tell and share and this, that, and the other. You felt vulnerable enough to mm-hmm. tell me how you've evolved as a man and how you grew up around your sisters and your mom, and how you believe that the experiences that you have encountered were just a setup for you to be able to pour into other men.
Yes.
Is that not true?
Yes.
And in that story, we realized that even though our journeys were different, we had some commonalities.
Absolutely, yeah.
And then there goes the friendship of 8 years.
Right.
And so, like I say, you can share, you don't have to share, or whatever the case may be, but I think it's important for at least them to know that the experiences that you've had.
Sure.
And how you were willing to open up to me. You don't open up to everyone.
No.
How that has led you to then have a passion to do the LPC program. So let me say this. I tried the LPC program too. And I'm pretty sharp, right? I was like, I can't do this. They want me to write a 25-page paper. I struggled. I aced it, but it
was the time.
Probably I had a lot going on, but I have no desire to go back into
and I'm glad she said she has no desire because you hear her passion.
I don't have a desire to do that.
And so we're talking about roles and these relationships and what brought us together. You know, oftentimes it could be trauma bonding that bring, people have those commonalities. Yeah. But we didn't stop there.
No.
We became solution oriented.
Yes.
What can we do with the trauma that we have been given?
Yes.
And she and I have spoken about from A through Z as it relates to life. Mm-hmm. And again, you want to make sure that someone have the self-awareness. Who are you speaking to? Are they safe? Yeah. Is it a safe space? Yes. Is it psychologically safe? Yes. Is it physiologically safe? Yes. You want to feel safe before you're vulnerable.
That's right.
And so again, we're talking about the end results of 8 years that we don't think will ever dissolve because we have taken so many lessons learned over brokenness.
Yes.
And so we've taken those lessons we learned through the brokenness.
Yes. And
we communicate clearly. We make sure that what is said, the receiver understand that and to be able to say it back, articulate it back in a way.
That's right.
And we're both heavily saturated with using analogies and examples. We were saying earlier about our lives looking like a train wreck.
Yes. Yes.
And I brought it to her attention that it was really valuable to share on the first podcast the vulnerabilities that she shared. Mm-hmm. But when you look at and forgive me for saying it, the train wreck of her life, you wonder how she survived.
Yeah.
And so again, this podcast is aimed at teasing out those strategies. Mm-hmm. And you may not hear everything that, personal pieces of her life, mm-hmm. only those things that she feels safe mm-hmm. to share. Mm-hmm. But the goal is to show that there are some wrecks, train wrecks, airplane wrecks, or whatever it may be, right. Whatever you may, paint the canvas of the adversity that you had gone through. Mm-hmm. But the goal is the how did you stay afloat?
Yes. How do you stay afloat? How do you fix it? So here's the thing. Regardless to the wreck, mm-hmm. the goal is to repair.
Mm-hmm. And I need to do what first? When we say repair,
mm-hmm. what do you need to do first?
What could be a beginning strategy?
First you got to acknowledge.
Huge.
Acknowledge that something needs to be repaired.
Yep.
Yeah.
Acknowledge. Yeah.
Acknowledge. Yeah. Sit in that, because when you acknowledge, you begin to peel the layers of that situation.
And that can be painful.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes. So did you do that in isolation when peeling the layers? Did people identify like, ooh, that's you know what, you need to do this? Or
yeah. So, I laugh a lot. Mm-hmm. I think I'm a comedian. Like, I don't even try to be.
Sure.
But like Kevin Hart says, like he laughs through his pain. I do too. Mm-hmm. So sometimes people don't know, is she really happy and laughing because she got tears rolling down, but she cracking up?
And it could be a defense mechanism too.
I would do it around people I was safe, and I would do it in isolation. A lot of my healing and breakthroughs were in just by myself, in silence, where I can hear God's voice and I can be comforted by the Holy Spirit.
So what tools, what strategies were present? You were alone.
I was alone.
And you were doing what?
I acknowledged the situation. I sat in that, and I went through every emotion I felt at that time. I went through the events that occurred that evoked the emotion.
How was that for you?
Oh, that doesn't feel good.
How did you get out of it?
You know what?
Because
when
it's
they say
like reliving it?
Yeah, but you know what? So first of all, when you have a bruise, and it's bleeding.
There's that analogy going on, bruise and bleeding. Yes.
You first got to stop the bleeding.
Yes.
You got to bandage that or put something tight around it to stop it.
Right.
Right? It's hurting, it's throbbing. And you can't as a person determine how long that bleeding is. You just got to sit there. Mm-hmm. Right?
Okay, good. Yeah.
And when it stopped bleeding, that sore is still there. It doesn't heal just because it stopped bleeding.
Right.
So I allowed myself to go through the process. That's what you're looking for. I allowed myself to go through the process. And so then it begins to scab over. Mm-hmm. So even though I talk about it and I can be authentic about things that have happened to me, there's a scab, you know, and the scab, again, I can't determine how long a scab is going to stay on a wound, because life has a way of going through its own processes.
Right.
And if you go through it authentically, it is a true process. So eventually the scab falls off, and then the skin begins to grow. Mm-hmm. Now, sometimes it leaves a scar that reminds you.
Yes.
And sometimes you're like, I remember it was there, but because the pain is just not there the way you remembered it, so you can't see it anymore. Either way, it is the acknowledgement, it is going through the process and those emotions. Mm-hmm. It's accepting Acceptance.
Absolutely.
This happened and it is okay, right?
Absolutely.
Not, why did he do this to me? Why did she do this to me? Why did I don't focus on that. I just don't. Why? Because it does nothing for me. I accept it, and then it's okay. Now that I've acknowledged it, I went through the crying and the anger and all these emotions. And so acknowledge, process, acceptance. Now it's okay. Now what do I do with this? Right? Because I'm created for a purpose.
Right.
So now I need to come, be focused, because you alluded to that last podcast. I need to be focused, and I need to be intentional, and I need to set boundaries.
Absolutely.
And then and we keep saying this because it's important, solicit the support from other people.
Absolutely.
Because you can't do it alone. And when you try to do it alone, let me tell you what happens. You begin to talk to yourself, and then sometimes negative thoughts come in your head. I can't do this. I don't want to be here anymore. Why me? He didn't love me. Why he liked her? Why I didn't get the job? Why no?
And then one of the techniques to kind of offset that is it's called thought stopping.
Okay.
You stop those negative thoughts and you replace them with a good or positive thought.
Okay.
So much like you say, well, why can't I do that? Well, because if you understand your purpose, there is something more that you can do.
Yeah.
And so for every negative thought, 2 or 3, up to 5 or more as you grow and develop, every negative thought, 2 or 3 positive thoughts to offset it.
Okay.
Okay.
And
so that's a strategy there that we could use because you're right, in isolation, we're self-critical.
Yes.
You become the only mirror, and you cannot view yourself or perceive yourself in the way that other people might be seeing you.
Right.
And you're much further along the journey than you would give yourself credit for.
Yeah.
Because growth is growth.
Growth is growth.
You know, I forget who said sometimes we don't know, we can't see ourselves winning until we come out to the other side, or we cannot measure our own growth until we come out on the other side.
Yes.
And what we want to do is kind of pause and say, you know what? I acknowledge my growth.
Yeah.
I could see where I was.
Right.
And I acknowledge where I am today.
Yes.
And so you were driven, you had passion, commitment, you were dedicated to you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And again, even to talk about trauma, as you were talking about, one thing about it, and I like what you said, as it relates to trauma, one of the main difference when those things trigger you, you have a voice now that you did not have then. Before. So you can advocate. Yeah. You mentioned about speaking to your community or that inner circle.
Yes.
The pain won't be the same. That scab. I have an ugly scab on my wrist. And I can look back at it, but I'm not really triggered by the pain that I felt at that time. And that's one thing we can tell our trauma. I'll never be in as much pain as I was when it happened. Yeah. I felt like drowning then, but now I can get up and walk away from the situation. Yes. I can change the channel. Yes. There are things that we could do. And so we want to talk about the things that we could do when we're navigating this journey.
Yeah. So one other thing I don't want to discount is the fact that do not take what other people do to you personally, right? Don't own their stuff. Okay. Like, you treated me like that, or you said this to me, or you responded to me that way. That you must have had a bad day. So I look at situations as opportunities for me to acknowledge that people have their own issues. Yes. And I cannot make their issues my issues. Right. So if somebody don't want to be with me, I'm just not going to chase behind them. I'm not going to, why you can't, no, but then maybe they release me to go get something greater. It's always, to me, I try to put myself in a positive light. So if I didn't get that job, then that job was going to be really hard and not pay enough money or whatever. I have to learn some more skills or whatever, and
Right.
wait for the opportunity for another job. And this other job that I get, when I do get it, it's gonna be the best job ever. Like
Absolutely.
that's how I look at it.
So it's perspective changing and reframing, looking at it differently. You have lovely paintings around your home, and perhaps that may be a painting that you really, really like, but you probably would like it a little bit more if you change the frame.
Yes.
So we need to learn how to change the frame and look at things differently.
I like that.
And so again, adversity has that ability to bring out or challenge us or to push us. I firmly believe from a godly perspective or spiritual perspective that, again, the adversities that we face, they're not there to destroy you. You may feel like you're sinking or drowning or whatever, but there's always something that you could do. This is why this podcast is really important, because we're talking about the things that you have done, much like Joseph from the pit to the palace. People now see the palace. When I drove up to your beautiful home, it's like, oh, this is the palace. But because of my experiences, I've been to palaces before. And me driving up, I had an invite. So I was welcome to the kingdom. Somewhere or another, I'm in the court. Look how I'm seeing things, my perspective, framing things. Look how my social group has and is changing, evolving and growing. And we have got to, as you said, accept. We have to accept that as we grow, sometimes we outgrow people.
That part. Yes.
We outgrow people. Your needs change.
Your needs change.
What you and they can change on a dime.
Yeah.
Years don't have to pass. You can want this today,
but
which is very, very important when it comes to exploring what is it that I want at this time, at this moment, in this hour.
Yes. Armstead talked about what are your needs. When you drove up to this palace, as you named it.
Yeah, I call truth.
Yeah, I have in my Jaguar, when I had my Jaguar, I drove up to my palace in my Jaguar, and I sat outside of my palace, and I cried. And that was one of the lowest times of my life, because I knew that I was coming into this palace and there was nobody else here. I had went from a whole family, 3 children, husband, wife, to my daughter has her own home. My son is in college. I no longer have my husband, and then my daughter, my bonus child that came from him, they were package deals, so they left together.
So you're even talking about loss.
Yes. So I was experiencing loss. And I had to work through those emotions. Let me tell you, I went to McDonald's and I was supposed to be making some good choices at that time. And I said, I'm just gonna get an ice cream cone. I got to, so I ordered an ice cream cone, got to the window, said, can you add a fry and some nuggets and a hamburger? Oh my goodness. Came back to the house, and as lovely as this house is, you think I would come inside and eat. I sat outside in my SUV, and I cried and ate and I wasn't even hungry, but I cried and ate every single thing. And when I was done with my last bite, I said, okay, God, I'm going through the process.
So that was a place of surrender.
I said, now it's time for me to come up with my action plan.
Okay.
And I intentionally keep saying I had a Jaguar and all, because the point of me saying that,
it meant nothing. If you know where
that's what I'm trying to say.
Absolutely.
That people we have these prized possessions. That means absolutely nothing. In fact, I sold that Jaguar and it was paid for. I sold that Jaguar and then put that money into a vehicle, not a car, but a investment type vehicle that will yield me more money and interest. Right? So I cut ties.
Right.
And that's the thing about loss. When you properly heal from loss, you can cut ties from things in the future that no longer serve you. You can leave organizations, you can leave people, right? That are not healthy for you. Once you understand how to go through the process, right? Come up with an action plan and walk in your purpose.
Right.
Yeah. So listen, I don't want to overwhelm everybody with too much information.
With the pit from the palace.
Right.
But there's a whole lot of meat on that bone there, and some strategies that you did share.
Yes.
That could be effective to navigate life a little bit better.
Yes, thank you for that. As we conclude, what I want us to walk away with is people can propel us towards our purpose. Doesn't matter whether these are positive or negative experiences.
Sure.
All things work together.
Sure.
Right?
Yes.
We have to learn to extract from each experience
what we need and what could benefit us.
That's it. So I hope you guys had some aha moments or some eureka moments, as I will call it. I hope that you guys are able to take some of the information that we've shared today.
Sure.
And use them in your own life as you see fit.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And let us hear back from you.
Yeah. Like and subscribe. Thank you.